Hey fellow explorers, today I'm in Newport, Rhode Island, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to visit this city, including what to see, do, and eat. All right, let's go. The first thing to know is just some general information about Newport. Newport is well known throughout the New England region as a popular summertime beach resort. Now, in addition to beaches, it's also really popular for sailing and yachting. Newport has been referred to as the sailing capital of America, as it's hosted the America's Cup for many years in the past. You're going to find more than beaches and sailing here. You're also going to find mansions. Some of the biggest mansions in the United States of America are here in Newport. The most famous one is called the Breakers, built in 1895. It was built to resemble a Renaissance palace. More about the mansions and why they were built here and who they were built by later on in this video, but you can go inside and visit them and feel like you were one of those rich people, well, except that you paid admission to go in for just a few hours. Again, more about that later. Now, you're also going to find a really neat walkable downtown in Newport, cobblestone streets, early colonial style architecture, and in addition to you're going to find lots of brides-to-be, people celebrating their anniversaries, and she says that everything is good here and you can trust her absolutely. The second thing to know is just some information to help you get oriented to Newport. Newport is located in Rhode Island, the smallest state in the USA. You're going to find it 75 miles south of Boston, 180 miles north of New York City. It's on this little island called Aquidneck Island along the shores of Narragansett Bay. As far as cities go, Newport is pretty small in a compact 11 square miles. It neighbors Middletown. You really could consider them the same area. A lot of the great restaurants and hotels and beaches to go to are in Middletown and Newport, but people pretty much just talk about it all as Newport. Now, one street here you definitely want to get familiar with is this one. It's spelled T-H-M-E-S, and if you're from the UK, you would pronounce it Thames Street. It's not how they pronounce it here. They pronounce the H. It is Thames Street if you are in Newport, but this is the historic street along the waterfront district. Lots of cool things here. If you're like gonna park and start your journey someplace, start at Thames Street and Long Wharf. That's a great spot to start your journey. You can head on that south, and then eventually you'll get to Bellevue Avenue, which is where the big mansions are, and it's also where the famous cliff walk is. The third thing to know is about getting into Newport, and if you're flying in, well, the closest airport is in the capital of Rhode Island, Providence. It's about 30 miles away, and it's a pretty small airport, really only services destinations on the East Coast or towards Chicago, nothing on the West Coast, and not really many international destinations. If you're looking to come in from further afield, then you're going to want to fly into Boston Logan International Airport. That is the closest big airport. It is 75 miles to the north of Newport, and that's actually where I flew into to record this video. If you're looking to take the train in, well, the closest you're going to get is to Providence. There's another stop a little bit closer, but then you're probably stuck getting a taxi or an Uber into Newport. It's also pretty good driving. The roads and things like that are pretty good to get in here. If you are driving from Boston, it'll take you about 90 minutes. If you are driving from New York City, it'll take you about 4 hours. Oh, and if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm shooting each scene in this video in a different location, so you get to see a bit of Newport as we go. This scene was shot in Washington Square. This is the county courthouse, built in 1927 in the architectural style of colonial revival. The fourth thing to know is about getting around, and Newport, it's really walkable, because it's an old city. It was really definitely built for walking, though you'll want to bring some comfy shoes. Ladies, leave the high heels at home, because all of the cobblestone and brick, that's a broken ankle waiting to happen. Now, if you're driving your car into the waterfront district, you should know parking is going to be expensive and limited during the summer. Why do I say during the summer? Well, because pretty much all the street parking is metered, but you only have to pay for it between May and October. If you come in the winter, the street parking is actually all free. But if you come in the summer, $2 per hour to park on the street. If those are full, then there are some city-owned garages that'll cost you more, and then some private garages that'll cost you more. I saw one parking lot that was advertising $40 a day, just so you know where to ballpark that parking rate. Oh, and for the street parking, in addition to paying by license plate at these meters, you can also download the Passport parking app and just do it from your phone. Or if there's too much traffic on land, you can get around by sea and take the Newport Harbor Shuttle to a few different piers along the harbor. Now, what about if you're trying to get around and you're too tired of walking? Well, in the summertime, you can take one of the hop-on, hop-off trolleys that Newport, Rhode Island run for free. You can pick them up all around the city, but if you're looking for like the one place that's the beginning of the route, you'll find it at the Gateway Center. There's also that parking garage that you'll pay $40 to park at right there. And you'll also find clean public restrooms in the building right next to that parking garage. And if you just can't wait for one of those trolleys, well, you'll find Uber and Lyft rideshare services to be plentiful here too. The fifth thing to know is about beaches, and surprisingly, Newport actually doesn't have that many in the way of sandy beaches. There are 3 though that if you're coming to visit, you might want to consider. The first one, Easton's Beach right here, is 3/4 mile of sandy beach. It is also known as First Beach parking. You're gonna pay, if you're parking, $15 on the weekday, $25 on the weekend. There's also another beach down that way, Second Beach, and then Third Beach. They're all just kind of right next to each other on the border of Newport and Middletown. Beware, some of the beach parking is for residents only, and so if you're not a resident, don't park there, pay for parking instead. It's also worth noting that the beach-going season in Newport's really pretty short. I would say July and August are your months that you're able to get in the water without a wetsuit. That's where you'll have the high water temperature being about 70 degrees. If you come in December, the water temperature is a chilly 36 degrees Fahrenheit, nearly freezing. So actually that's why you can see there are not that many people in the water behind me. Even though I am here in August, it's still on the cold side. Oh, and Easton's Beach is also the beginning of the cliff walk just on that side, so you can see the big mansions that we're gonna talk about a little later right over here. And the wind is not doing great things for my hair today. Now, if you are here with a car and you like scenic drives, do a Google search for the Newport 10-mile drive. It's a really neat route, pretty much along the coast of Newport, but you'll get to see some of the mansions and some of the beaches, and definitely worth your while if you don't have much time. If you don't have a rental car, you can consider renting one of these little motorcycle scooter things. They look like a lot of fun. And the sixth thing you need to know is about the food in Newport, and in particular, you should know about the seafood here, because delicacies from the sea are what Newport is definitely known for. And there's a few of them, but the first one I want to share with you is lobster rolls. Nothing is more classic in Newport than the Newport Lobster Shack. It's right on the harbor, and you can get this delicious lobster that's falling out of my sandwich. They offer 2 sizes, the small and the large. This one is the large, $30 when I'm recording this video, because lobster prices go up and down. Cold lobster in here, warm toasted roll. It's served with a bag of chips, and it really is kind of a shack. Actually, maybe it's a little bit of a truck. They also sell seafood to go if you want to bring some lobster home with you, but let's dive into the 6 ounces of large lobster on this roll. All right, there we go. Good meaty lobster, lots of it, nice and fresh. And to accompany my lobster roll, I got a cup of the New England style clam chowder. This is a white clam chowder. Pretty tasty, and it's even got some clams in it. What a surprise. Oh, I say that because so often I get clam chowder that's just full of potatoes and doesn't have any clams. This one, you can definitely see the clams in it. Just the way clam chowder should be. Oh, and now that I've made my way through most of the sandwich, what makes this lobster roll so good is it's just lobster in that bread. There's not a lot of fillers, there's not a lot of mayo. Bread, lobster, how can you go wrong? And if you like clam chowder, you should definitely check out the Rhode Island specialty chowder, which is clear chowder. You won't find this at all chowder places, but here at Flo's Clam Shack, which has been serving up clams since the 1930s in a really shackish looking building, their chowder specialty is clear chowder. Since it doesn't have a creamy base to it, it's definitely a more seafoody tasting broth. Mild though, not doesn't taste like you ate the sea. Good. But what their specialty at Flo's Clam Shack is clams, and in particular fried clams. This is the fried clam platter, $29.95. That comes with clams, French fries, coleslaw, and some tartar sauce. And casualty, let's try these little specialties right here. Lightly breaded, fresh clams. They don't taste like the sea. And you can see there's the clam in the breading right there. Tender, not too chewy. So if you like clams, definitely check out Flo's. But make sure you do it during the summer when they're open. Oh, this place does get really busy too, so you might want to come for like an 11 a.m. lunch when they're not that busy. Now this place has quite the sense of humor. In addition to having a big shark out front, they also have their famous combo number 9 where you can get a bottle of wine and 2 hot dogs for $90. And in addition to the hot foods, they also have a raw bar. To get the raw foods, you have to order these upstairs. This is like a casual order at the window, sit down kind of place. Great if you've got kiddos or just rowdy family members with you. If you want to eat at Flo's, you got to come here during the summer. They're only open for the season, March to October. One of my favorite restaurants in Newport is the Brick Alley Pub and Restaurant, not just because it's yellow, but they've got good old down-home all-American food, seafood, burgers, steaks, that kind of thing, in a nice, cozy, pubish atmosphere. It doesn't feel like a bar, but a nice kind of woody, old school restaurant. What do I like at Brick Alley Pub? Well, for an appetizer, I enjoy the calamari. Calamari is the national appetizer of Rhode Island, and the unique part here is it's spicy, served with banana peppers. For a main course, I really like the baked scallops. Comes with your choice of side. I really like to get it with a baked potato that's as delicious as the scallops. If it's a hot day and you're looking to cool down, then stop by Dell's for their famous lemonade. And not just any lemonade, it's actually frozen lemonade. Well, some of it's melted, so it's pouring out, but frozen lemonade that you eat with kind of a spoon, straw, kind of like a Slurpee, or an icy. $4 for this little cup. Is it amazing? No. But is it a Newport classic? Yes. You should know about shopping, and you'll find a lot of Newport shopping right here along Thames Street. If you want to start your walk, you can start right here at the Long Wharf shops, and then walk south from here, you'll find the Brick Market, and then you'll find a couple other wharfs. Just because it says wharf, I mean, that doesn't mean boats stop there. I don't know, they call their shopping malls wharfs here. I think they used to be piers, and now they've got shops, but Bowen's Wharf and Bannister's Wharf are a couple of great stops for shopping. And yes, much of the shopping in Newport is definitely the souvenir, tourist trappy kind of stuff. You know it, because this store calls themselves The Trap. Now, if you want to dive even deeper into the history of Newport than I go into here, you can drop into the Museum of Newport History right at the Long Wharf Mall, and you'll also find the city's tourist information back in there too. I mean, look, even Starbucks here is in a cool colonial style building. And if you're here with kiddos, they're sure to enjoy the arcade at Ryan Family Amusements, an old school kind of video game parlor right across the street from Bannister's Wharf. The 8th thing you should know is about hotels, and some of the best hotels in Newport are located right in walking distance of the waterfront district. One of my favorites here is the Marriott on Newport Harbor, but you should know that the hotels here are really expensive in the summer. This one goes for $500 a night in the summer, maybe $150 a night in the winter. And so if you're looking at a week and they just seem exorbitantly priced, you know, maybe look at a different week right after kids go back to school, and you'll find them for half the price. If you are coming in the summer and you can't afford the hotels right around the waterfront district, consider staying in Middletown. There's a number of hotels right over there, in particular a Residence Inn that I'm staying at on this trip that is half the price of this Marriott. Marriott. It's pronounced Marriott. You should know about the weather and when is the best time to go. Well, most people visit Newport in the summertime, so think June, July, and August. And most people from the New England region come here to escape the heat of the rest of the region, because Newport is generally cooler than New York City and Boston. The daytime highs in July and August are usually in the high 70s Fahrenheit or about 25 degrees Celsius. But if you come this summer, it's going to be expensive. So if you want to save a little bit of money, come in shoulder season. Come March or April. Come September, October, November. You'll find cheaper hotel prices. You'll find maybe free or cheaper parking, and you won't have all the tourist hordes here. I don't recommend you come in the winter, December, January, February. It gets really cold here, and it snows, and the snow doesn't melt for a long time. And so unless you're a snowbird and you've got some really big jackets, you know, I would save your visiting time to the spring, summer, and fall months. The one time you might want to come in the winter is if you're not really interested in any of the outdoorsy stuff and all you want to do is go into the mansions, because those are I mean, they're indoors and they're heated, and so you can be warm and toasty in there, even when it's rainy or snowy outside. And the 10th thing to know is about things to do in Newport. And one of the best things to do here is the cliff walk. This walk is a 3.5-mile hike in some areas around coastal Newport. If you were to hike the whole route, it takes about 2.5 hours, but along this route, you have amazing views of the Atlantic over this way, and over this way, you have views of the mansions. That's the breakers right there. Now, if you're the kind of person who's a completist and you want to do the whole hike, then you're going to want to start at Easton's Beach or First Beach, because that's where the cliff walk officially starts, and make your way around the whole thing. The cliff walk from Easton's Beach to the breakers is easy, and then it gets more difficult as you go around to the south end. I think the coolest place to start, though, is at 40 Steps. It's on Narragansett Avenue. Those 40 steps, like back in the day when these mansions had maids, that's where the maids would spend their day off and kind of congregate down there. And still today, it's like a super big party for people to take selfies and just enjoy the view of the Atlantic Ocean. I do want to point out, much of the parking along the route is pay parking. So if you're here in the summer, make sure you do pay for those spots. So when you're done with the cliff walk, seeing all these mansions from the back, you'll want to go check them out from the front and inside. Now, these mansions, known as the Gilded Age mansions, were built by some of the ultra wealthy during the 1800s. A lot of wealthy folks from New York City who wanted to escape the heat, so they built their summer cottages right here. This one, the Breakers, built in 1895 to resemble a Renaissance palace, has the kind of opulence that has bathtubs that have both freshwater and saltwater taps. So maybe on Mondays you want to take a freshwater bath, and Tuesdays you want to take a saltwater bath. You could do that if you lived in this mansion built by the Vanderbilt family. You could easily spend a whole day exploring each of the mansions. They're basically, many of them are now open as museums for you to go in. Each one has a different admission fee and ticket structure. The three most popular, number one is definitely here, the Breakers. Number two, the Marble House that has hundreds of thousands of cubic feet of marble. And number three is Rough Point. Now, note, many of these mansions don't allow strollers inside for the tours, so if you're here with kiddos, leave your strollers in the car. If you're a true sailing aficionado, well then you'll want to check out the Sailing Museum at the National Sailing Hall of Fame. They do charge admission to go in, and so all that you're going to see in this video is the outside. If you enjoy getting out on the water, definitely consider taking one of the harbor cruises. You can take one on one of these neat historic sailboats. You'll find tons of companies that operate these out of many of the wharfs along the waterfront district. Check out Newport's almost 300-year-old church, Trinity Church, located just up St. Anne's Square from the waterfront district. What you'll find really cool about this one is the seats, because it's really cold here in the winter. They're actually these pew style, so they have comfy places to sit. They could put blankets, and then in this one, in 81, you can see Her Highness Princess Margaret of the UK sat here, Desmond Tutu sat here, Prince Andrew, George Washington, and even Queen Elizabeth. Wow. Do you know what the last thing to know is? It's that I've got more videos. If you're heading to Boston or New York City, you might enjoy checking out my travel guides on those destinations. You'll also find links in the description below, and as usual, I won't say goodbye because I'm gonna see you in one of those videos.